Maryland lecturer Jason Nichols joining us now from Washington, D.C. Well, we're not going to refer directly to those claims about child soldiers, but we will bring the Kurds into this, because if the United States says it's only going to pull out if you, Turkey, can protect the Kurds, and Turkey says we're going ahead with our operation into that part of Syria, the potential for a clash between two NATO allies is pretty severe, isn't it?
It is. Well, first of all, I think it's important to remember that John Bolton is himself a pretty troubling figure. He's someone who doesn't believe in multilateral institutions. He's someone who has always had Iran in his crosshairs, which will destabilize the entire region. I think, security for the Kurds is extremely important, but the United States needs to be careful about who we get involved in strategic partnerships with. So in that regard, I think that President Erdogan actually has a point. So I think that the United States of America really has to think very hard about how we can provide security for the Kurds and for other people in Syria.
Okay, so that itself provides a particular problem rather than a solution. If the United States is providing security for those Kurds in that area, and Turkey says a lot of those people there are actually terrorists in our estimation, once again, there's a problem, isn't there, between the two nations?
Yes, well, I think that this is an issue that I think that both nations can discuss and try to get through. I think that one of the problems here is that one individual in particular, Mr. Bolton, is making comments from Israel. The Turks are making comments from Turkey, and people aren't speaking to one another and talking about these things, just making public statements. I think there needs to be more of a bilateral conversation, direct conversation about how we can achieve security for all. I mean, the entire region needs security, needs peace and prosperity. And I think that that's going to happen if we communicate with one another rather than talking at one another, which is what seems to be going on right now.
You mentioned that John Bolton, going back to his days as US ambassador to the United Nations, has sort of got a bit of a hair trigger when it comes to parts of the Middle East, in particular Iran. Does he speak, do you think, for President Trump on this, or is he sort of going slightly off message?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm not sure that President Trump is knowledgeable enough about the region and about the history in order to have an opinion on his own. I think that Bolton will be the person who informs him, along with Secretary Pompeo. They're going to be the people who give President Trump his information, and President Trump will then make a hair-trigger decision, which is what President Trump usually does. But I think that Bolton, again, he is somebody who thinks war first. He thinks conflict first. He's someone who gets into partnerships that perhaps should be vetted a little more strongly. So I think that this is a troubling news for the entire region because of his history and what he seems to think in terms of his political philosophy.
Okay, so if John Bolton is the one with the local knowledge, if John Bolton is the one with the iron fist, when he suggests that the troops won't be coming out immediately, as Donald Trump had said, within 30 days, I think it's now been extended 120 or whatever. If John Bolton says that, what is his aim in trying to keep US troops there that much longer?
Well, I think President Trump got a lot of flack for making that time limit, which I honestly think was a bad idea as well. I think that we need to be out of Syria. I totally agree there. But what needs to happen is a responsible withdrawal, not just an immediate withdrawal and not thinking about our allies, not coordinating with all of the people in the region. And that's one of the things that I think Bolton thought he was coming through fixing, but he still has the war hawk reputation, and he's going to bring that to the table. So I think President Trump's inclination to leave Syria is actually a good one. It's just the way he did it was wrong. And now Bolton is trying to fix that, but also creating new problems as we go along.
Okay, nations and an administration in flux. We thank you very much indeed. Jason Nichols talking to us from Maryland in the United States, or actually from outside the White House, but representing Maryland. We appreciate your time. Thank you.